Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shakes and Fidget free to play playthrough. Or is it? As you can see on the screen just now, there is something different on this login screen. Well, the first thing is I'm using Chrome, in this case scenario, but then also there is no account login screen. And one of the most important thing, which is you can see on the screen, is this one here. It's a beta server. Yes, I want to show you a new development which is done on the beta server. As I got a key to access the beta server, and I have an opportunity to test the change which they are implementing for the Berserker class. Um, if you like this type of content, don't forget to like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more of the content to get the notification, and don't forget to leave the comment below if you like this type of content, if you want to see more of this content or less of this content, or just say hello and write a comment below. But here we go. So as you can see, this is a beta server, and since I got the key, once you create a character, it is capped at level 500. You get a bunch of gold, you get a bunch of shrooms. Um, Not that you need it that much when it comes to the gear. You actually have all of the gear available. I actually removed all of my gear because I wanted to get the naturism achievement, which is spend 24 hours without a gear equipped. I don't know where it is, but the most important thing is, or it's not that important. Like I still have 6 hours, and I don't want to lose now time by waiting for this, and it does not impact the gameplay by that much. Having 5 additional stats is not that important. So when you start the beta server, you, as I said, you get level 500, you get a bunch of shrooms, you get the best potions there are. I don't need to buy this. It's 15 gold, 15 shrooms. I have more than enough shrooms, but I have 50 days, and the beta server is only open for a week approximately. So there is no reason to buy anything when it comes to this. Also, there is no reason to buy the mount, but I bought it again for the achievement itself. Not that important again, but just to have a bit of more stats because I would like to test this character. And now, one might ask, what is the change? Well, the change is not that big. It does not change its sort of the special ability of the Berserker. The Berserker ability is it gives a 50% chance for a additional attack to be triggered. And the thing is following. In the past, it was 50%, so the percentages don't change. Um, and how the special attack works is that once it triggers, it just gives you an additional attack. So you would attack twice, and it does decrease your armor by a bit for the next attack of your opponent. But the point is that it does not have any kind of internal cooldown um, for this attack. So this would mean that what you can do essentially is um, attack like if you spam enough times, you can have 10 attacks in a row, 15 attacks in a row. You can just, it would just sort of, um, I apologize. So what it would happen is just that you would keep attacking and doing the damage, even without giving the opportunity for the other guy to attack. So it did not have any kind of eternal cooldown. So you would attack once, twice, 15 times. It would just sort of trigger as many attacks as humanly possible. Um, the only difference or the only thing which stops you from attacking is your luck. So since you have a 50% chance to attack, to have an additional attack, a chance to have 2 additional attacks is like 25%. You have to have it once and then have it twice as well. The chance to having 3 attacks, again, 7.5%, etc., etc. So, or sorry, 12.5%, then 7 or something percent, 6.25%, etc. So you had sort of the more attacks you would have, the less chances that you would have for those attacks. What the change is that there is an internal cooldown of a sort. It's not a cooldown, but it's an eternal limit on the amount of attacks. If I click here, you can see here that in the ability explanation, it says chance of getting the frenzy is 50%. As soon as you have gotten the frenzy, you attack opponent several times without interruption. However, if you have tirelessly hit your opponent up to 10 times, you have to recover. So it is now capped to 10 times. The second change is you cannot use your frenzy in fights against mages. So in this case scenario, you would never have multiple attack against mages. The reason for this is probably driven by the fact that mages have quite a low health pool. So having even like 3 or 4 attacks would immediately kill the mage. So I think that this is the main reason why this was implemented, and this one is just because it was too powerful to have no limit on the frenzy itself. Um, the how the temper or how the frenzy works is that you get 11% boost on your attributes, and once you finish, you get 50% loss on your armor. This is the same as it was working before. You have also here explanation on the values of the um, Berserker. You can see that the weapon class is warrior. You have damage factor 100%, so no increase, no decrease. You have armor factor 50%. Hit points are 4 times, which means each um, hit point or hit constitution gives you 4 times the hit points as, let's say, mage. I actually don't know the hit points factor for mage, but generally across the concept you get more hit points as a berserker in comparison to mage or in comparison to scout, and the maximum damage reduction 25%. So these are just some other basic information about the Berserker, but this is where the change happened. The two changes: there is an internal limit, and second one, there is no frenzy against the mages. So let's actually test this. Let's put it to the test. Um, let's see how it works. I actually wanted to check. I did not check one thing. Yes, we actually have capped gladiator, which I mentioned in a previous episode. The point is that we have 165% critical hit damage bonus. So I think they intentionally did this one just to have the maximum which you can have. Um, the other stuff are not that relevant. So we will now do some fights. Um, to just go quickly through this, the tower is irrelevant for us because this gives us gold bonus from quests. We will not be doing any kind of quests. The twister, the fights in the twister all the way up to level 400, 500 are just too easy. So it maybe we will rush it just to see how it goes. But two things which wouldn't make sense to do fights against is this one, because here the enemies have quite a big health pool, and then also here and here where they also have quite significant health pool. Um, when you start on a beta server, all of the lower dungeons are already complete. Again, makes sense because all of these dungeons you would just one shot. So let's try some fights. This is scout, so there is no uh, we have the frenzy against the scout. It's not a mage. So let's try it. Okay, this will also be quite fast. Let's just do fights really fast because all of these would be just like one hit per each, and we would hit it. So we just got the frenzy. You could see 2 attacks there, but this is just going too fast in order to be able to test it. Um, okay, much. So this one, let's try to see this one again. 2 hits even before. Actually, we get an upgraded weapon. This is actually not bad because we can then upgrade the weapons to a certain extent. Yeah, this one has a bit more health, so let's see how it goes. One, two, three attacks this time. One, two attacks. So the frenzy works normally. This is a warrior, so it should not be any kind of problem to have these ones. And let's, okay, we don't have any room. I will just drop all of these because even though they might be a boost for us, it's not that important. Um, because at this point in time we just want to let's say go to the higher levels as much as possible. So let's continue with the dungeons. Here, okay, we actually also got some levels. Let's do the School of Magic Express. Yeah, this one, let's, it's just almost one hit. So I will actually try and rush these dungeons because these fights will usually end up in a one to hit kill, and we cannot test our berserker on those. Fortunately, if I knew this, I would prepare myself and clear all of the dungeons beforehand. But let's see. Let's. Oh, sorry. Let's try and kill that one who should not be named. Yeah, it's like we are just too powerful. But let's see. He's intelligence. He's a mage, so we cannot do a frenzy. And as you can see, none of these attacks was frenzy. So actually, a battle mage. I don't know if it's constituted as a mage. No, it does not. Okay, three attacks. So it's really against a mage only. So we will rush these ones fast. Okay, this is not relevant. I don't need that 10 shrooms on a beta server. Okay, let's do the necromancer fight because he has a lot of health. So just to see how it goes. I mean, we should still easily fight because we do so much damage. One, two, three, four. So far, the biggest amount of frenzy attacks we had is 4. Let's see this one. Oh, okay, I don't have any slots. You can see we got a bunch of sort of increased equipment. Not that much important. Um, we might start collecting later on. Let's see this one. Yeah, whatever. 136. So this one we will trash. This one we will trash, and this one we will trash also. We'll keep some of these just in case I would like to upgrade a bit. I am not sure until where we can push it, but it seems that we will just do this dungeon as well. Yeah, this is just hilarious because none of these are just even remotely close to the power which we have. One of the feedbacks I will probably provide to the guys is that we are just too powerful to even try and test the how Berserker works, at least in the light dungeons, in the shadow dungeons, in the shadow world, might be a bit better because we might have. Okay, this one I will keep. This one I will keep. This one. And this one is shit. This one I will keep for sure. And this one I will take. This is shit. This is a weapon. This one I will take. And this one is all stat. And this one is 3 stat, but it's worse. So let's extract the gems. Extraction. No, not that one. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure how many actually um, of the blacksmith things we have. Um, so I don't want to spend it. This is the reason why I said no. And here, extraction. Okay, we changed a bit of equipment just because it's for sure more powerful. Let's also quickly enchant. So this is important. The gold is not. The increased experience is not. Um, Chance to loot when holding up other players. Well, this we will do some PvP, so I'll do it. Um, Gentle Amulet, Package Adventures more. Okay, that's nothing. Shrooms, nothing. Footwear, shorten, traveling, nothing. And then the last one is the weapon. So just two. Maybe this one enchant we also don't need, but whatever. So let's actually wait. Okay, did I open Shadow World? Yeah, I just wanted to finish this one. One thing which I did not tell you, so the chance of us getting um, full 10 attacks, it's like 0.05%. So the chance of getting so many attacks, it's almost impossible. However, since we have a lot of shrooms, we and hopefully we will have a lot of opportunities. Maybe we can fight against other sort of in the dungeons to be able to mimic such fights. So here is a mage. We don't have against him a chance of frenzy, but unfortunately, even our follower will win against him. So this is just too too hilarious. Um, let's just quickly do this one. Yeah, it comes just to Koninge. Okay, this one actually came to me, but here, let's see. Yeah, he has half of health until he reaches me, so it's just like we're too powerful. However, it is okay. Like you see that he is also doing us damage. So I will slow down. Oh, we lost. Okay, so this now gets a bit more interesting. Let's come to us. So let's see how is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So far, not a lot of luck on our side when it comes to the frenzies. We only had up to 4. 1, 2. So nothing. 2 again. I would really like to test it out and see if I can get 5. Here it is 5. This was 5. 3. Okay, we won. That's cool. And let's try. So this is magic. This is mage. We don't have frenzy against it. I'm really interested if we will be able to win against him because we don't have frenzy. And he has, you can see that he does a lot of damage to us. Okay, we can actually win this. You see, with a bit of luck on the crits, I think we can easily win. Actually, even the Kunigunde won against him. Like this was just hilarious. Um, let's see the next one. Next. Okay, yeah, this did not come to us. Probably if we come. Okay, here it is. Okay, we still won. Jon Snow. Oh, 1, 2. I would say that that the internal limit for sure makes sense. Um, it's oh damn, I clicked the wrong button. The internal limit for sure makes sense because it just disables the possibility of let's see if we can, yeah, why not, this one here, he will for sure appreciate it. As I said, the point is that um, internal limit for sure makes sense. The reason why it makes sense is because without internal limit, people can just spam until they get lucky enough and they let's say get 15 attacks, and once they get 15 attacks, it's just from then on it's just too hilarious, and that's it. So for sure it makes sense to have an internal limit. Is a 10 internal limit too low, too high? I would say it's probably too high. The reason is because you can see that we had some fights already, and in none of them we had more than five um, frenzy attacks. So from this point of view, I don't think we can actually um even achieve the 10. Uh, Probably if you fight, like the more you fight, the more you have the opportunity to the um get these 10 attacks. So from this point of view, it is highly likely that um, the change itself uh, might make sense. That 10 can be a proper number. We will still see in all of the fights which we do. I will count the number of fights, and then I will count the number of high amount of frenzies that I got, and then I will see if it even makes sense to have it set on 10 or perhaps on a lower amount of of fights. Um, while I'm doing the fights, to explain you, so there are two ways how to get access to beta server. One is when a beta server is to open, there will be an internal email, in-game email, for a limited of access uh, a code with a limited access rights. I think some 500, 600, or something like this. And for this one, um, it's like first comes, first served. So whoever uses it will get an access, and that's it. However, if you follow the official Shakes and Fidget stream on Twitch, when there is a beta server, there will be a giveaway uh, of, I don't know, let's say up to 100 keys. Let's say 2 3 streams, 30 um, beta keys each. And if you win, as I did, you can get then access to the server to test it out. One thing to note here, please do not take the keys from the people who might want to test it, who are like really really eager to test it, because none of the progress you make on a beta server is relevant for your gameplay. You can use it to sort of have fun, but it's much more appreciated if the key is used to test uh, that the feature which is being implemented, so that the guys from Playa get a proper feedback and then can consequently adjust if something needs to be adjusted. So from this point of view, if you really do not plan to test the server, do not enter the giveaway, do not take the chance for someone else to really properly test the oh, that was interesting. I think it was 4 or 5. So let's see. So that's it. How I got the access, and I will try to test as much as possible. As you can see, oh, wait, hold on too. As you can see, we are now stuck on these two, and it's actually a good opportunity to test the chances. So this was 4. To test the chances and, let's say, personal luck on getting the frenzy attacks by the Berserker. I'm back. Actually, the fight against this one does not go that well. I will show you just one of the fights which I had, which I saved, even though I lost. I had 7 consecutive attacks. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the maximum of what I had so far. But still, I lost. There was one a chance to win it because he had like much less health than me, and I just started fighting him, and I still lost. But let's. Okay, this is actually a good one as well. I don't know if he does a lot of damage. He probably does. Yeah, he has bunch of stats. 5. It would be a good fight to test it out because he has a lot of health, so I cannot defeat him. But he also does a lot of damage. This is actually quite problematic in this case scenario. In order to test it, it's because we either kill him too fast or he kills us too fast. There is no um, fight where we sort of fight each other on a level basis, so that I can actually properly see how it goes. If it would be like a sort of an even fight, then it would be actually much better to uh, see how it goes. See, uh, let's see if I can win. I will just save the fight because in this case scenario we cannot get um, frenzy against the mage. We could, in theory, test it out and watch it out to see if we will get the fights, but probably not. Let's see this one. Yeah, he does just so much damage. This is exactly what I said. Same goes for the previous boss. He does so much damage that we are just not able even to compete against him. So this one, yeah, this one we actually might be a bit better. No, it would not. We will just pound him so good. To, or maybe not. But we have a chance to win. Actually, this is a okay fight because we are on a level basis. Oh, so actually, this is an interesting fight, and it's also battle mage, which is a strength character. If nothing, we have the same stats, so defenses are more or less the same against each other. So maybe this is the reason why it goes like this. So for this is what I mentioned a few seconds ago regarding the 10 cap of 10 limit of 10 frenzy attacks is the fact that so far I have not have more than 7. I was not paying attention how much shrooms I have used so far. Let's assume that I do 10,000 fights. Um, if in none of them I get 10 more than 10 attacks, then the limit of 10 doesn't make sense. I would rather limit it to 5, for example. Granted that having a limit of 5 would probably nerf the character too much because sometimes we have 7 and we win. However, if in most of the cases when we win, we did not have more than 5, then limit of 10 just does not make sense. Like we will never reach it because we are just too powerful even with 5. So from this point of view, I would rather lower the limit and then give the possibility of other characters to compete against us, then have a limit which in theory could be reached, just that the fact is that we don't need to reach it even. Yeah. Okay. So we are stuck on a couple of these bosses, and I will continue playing on this server, trying to spend as much shrooms as I can to win against these characters and to get as much of frenzy attacks as possible. Because the reason the way how I want to test it is I want to test first to see if we have bugs, which means that either we are getting frenzy attacks against mages, or a second option is that we are um, not sorry, we are not getting we are getting more than 10 against other classes. The only problem is it's just not possible for us to get the 10 attacks, so it's just sort of irrelevant from that point of view. I'll do some of these updates here, even though it's not that, as I said, relevant. It does give us a fighting opportunity against certain characters. In any case, I will end it here, and I might come back with just a bit of update on how it goes. So I would like to wrap up the testing of the Berserker, and as you are watching in the background, some of the fights that I had against other players in PvP, um, just wanted to give my opinion based on the test I've done. So I have spent around, I don't know, 500 shrooms doing 500 fights against different classes. I did not test against all of the classes. I tested against Demon Hunter, against Mage, against Scout, against Battle Mage, and against Warrior and Druid, and I think Assassin actually as well. And based on what I've seen, I actually don't like the change. Before I explain why I don't like the change, the fights which I've done were against the players of a similar level. So I was 512, and most of them were between 507 and 515. So everything was within the same range. And the reason why I selected some of these classes is just to see how new Berserker sort of responds to their, or how the fight will go depending on their special ability. So Demon Hunter resurrecting himself, or the Scout dodging my attacks. So in the end, actually, there are some um, pros and cons, or let's say the Berserker is better against certain classes, but much worse against some other classes. So after doing these 400 or 500 fights, I think that um, I had maybe one time a 10-time attack. Once I had a 9-time attack, and maybe 2 or 3 8 times attacks. Which is, I mean, it's expectable. Like to have a 10-time attack is less than 1%, 0.5, if I remember correctly. So it's quite sort of low chance to get 10 times attack. So having one in 500 fights, that's seems plausible. Um, Second thing is that against mages, especially when I was doing dungeons, I really sucked. So I was, it took me like at least 50, 60 tries to beat Dumbledore. I mean, Stumbledore is the name in the dungeon, in the Shadow Dungeon, and then even more to beat Dolores Umbridge, whatever her name is um in the dungeon. And according to SF Tools, it says that I have 5 to 6% against Dolores. Um, let's say on a current live servers. However, it took me more than 100 tries, which means that the percentage is less than 1% on the test. I also, in the PvP, I really sucked. I don't think I won a single fight against mage unless I was significantly overpowering the mage. Even though the SF tool says that against the mage, it's almost 50-50%, like it's 53 towards 47% in my favor. So I should be winning more than sort of I would be losing, but I was actually not winning at all. So from my point of view, the mage nerve is just too big. It's just unrealistic. It drops the percentage, as I said, from 53 versus 47% to 0 versus 100. So I against the same character, same player, on a real server, I would be winning 50% of the cases. On a test server, I was losing all of the cases. So let's say that. when I was overpowering it, then I would be winning 50-50%. The main reason for this is because since I don't have multiple attacks, I'm doing some, let's say, normal damage for a berserker. But the problem is that mage is doing significantly more damage. He like the crits I was getting was half of my HP, so he usually needs like 2 hits to win against me. And since I don't have multi-hit, it's just like I cannot even get to less than 50% of his health. And with the second, like against other classes, considering that I only had one 10 time and one 9 and couple of 8 times attack, I don't see the problem of having the 10 the 10 cap, but I don't think also that this affects it significantly because let's say in the fights which I've had, in most of the cases the fights went as they should. So I was, let's say, hitting 3-4 times, like in average 3 to 4 times, and I would either lose or win depending how luck is on my side when it comes to the special ability that the opponent has. So, for example, the Demon Hunter, if he resurrects, I usually lose. If he does not resurrect, I win. Then with the Scout, depends how much he dodges, and with the Druid, depends also how much he dodges and then how much he has the swoop attack, because when he swoops, he does significant amount of damage. So from this point of view, it's really, let's say, I cannot say 50-50. Of course, I won more against druids and uh, lost more against demon hunters or similar. But overall, it works as it is working on a real server. So the cap itself, I don't think it impacted the results or the performance of the class against other classes. So with this in mind, I have sort of two suggestions for the change of the class. The first one is against the mages. I don't think this should be changed like that. So the removal of the um, berserk, the trigger against mages in the fight against mages just does not make sense from my point of view. I would keep the possibility to have the trigger. However, I would cap it to a lower cap than against other classes because the fact that mage have less HP or similar. So let's say cap on 3. Um, this might or might not be okay because in average I was getting 3 attacks in most of the cases. So it's questionable if the cap of 3 has any kind of impact in such cases. So maybe 2 caps or cap on 2 attacks. I don't know, but for sure it doesn't make sense to completely remove it. Against other classes, I would actually lower the cap. You know, if we want to nerf how the berserker looks like now, I would lower the cap to maybe 5. It's just let's say from the top of my head, just a round number. Of course, this should be probably tested. Maybe it should be 6 or 7, but let's say with a cap of 5, it just has an impact because 10, as I said, in really a lot of fights, I did not have. Once I had the 10, so it's the fact that the cap is on 10, it's really insignificant. Having it on 5, I would lose a lot of fights, or the fights where I had more than 5. It's maybe some 10-15% of all of the fights which I had. So in these 10 or 15, it would have an impact. So I would sort of reduce it to 5, let's say, and then mage I would include it. However, was also while I was playing thinking about how would I rework Berserker to have a bit of, I don't know, thematically to work, and also to have a bit of impact on the fights. And with this in mind, my suggestion would be actually And I could come up with such a approach for all classes, and maybe I will make a video where I would do such a suggestion for all classes. But thematically, for a Zerg, for a Berserker to have this rage makes sense that something happens. Let's put it like that. So in a case of a rage, for me it makes more sense that he is a victim of a crit, for example, and then he rages. And then when he goes to rage, I would actually change the way how the rage works. So currently it's like 50% to have a crit, or sorry, 50% to have additional hit. I would say that once he enters a rage, the additional, the first additional hit is guaranteed. So if you're a victim of a crit, you will for sure attack twice with the next attack, and that's it. So in this case scenario, actually, you are transferring the 50% chance to your opponent. So if he has a 50% crit, it's more or less the same. Like he has a 50% of crit, which means you will get that additional attack in a 50% of cases. Um, but then the second attack, I would, let's say, put a 75%. So in this case scenario, you get a victim of a crit, you will attack twice, and then there is a 75% to attack one more time, and then I would put, I don't know, 50% on a fourth attack, and then I don't know, 25% on a fifth attack, and maybe I would then cap it to 25%. I would not go below, because the if you're gonna reduce more, the chances of you getting more than 5 attacks would be just too small. And I did a bit of calculation using this on let's say the total of 10 attacks is that in a current scenario of having a 50% of chance just to have this rage attack or not, let's say on 5 attacks would happen in 3% of the cases, 3.1% of the cases, and the 10 attacks would be 0.1% of the cases, 10 attacks. However, in a changed view, the 5 attacks would happen actually less often. It would happen 2.3 in comparison to 3.1. And actually, the 10 attacks would almost never happen. Actually, sort of to have it in mind, I said 0.1 is to have 10 attacks in a current, let's say, way how the Berserker works, but 0.1 corresponds to 7 attacks in my, let's say, idea, in my suggestion. So you would actually have some sort of a soft cap in this scenario. So it's a 7%. You do have this nerf on it. And also what is most important, because someone might say like, oh, it's a huge nerf, because first you will have the same percentage in current would yield 10 attacks, and in the future will yield 7 attacks. And also, for example, for 5 attacks, you have much less percentage. That's exactly the point, because up to 5 attacks, you have higher chances to do these attacks. So, for example, as a comparison, the first additional attack, you have 50% of chance, whilst um, in the scenario of what I'm suggesting, you will get it 100% if you are crit. The second attack, it would be 25% in the current. For me, it would be 75%. The third attack, 12.5, 37.5. Fourth attack, 6.3, 9.4. So in all cases, you have a bit more chance to get this additional attack. Um, I would not change how the after rage effect works. Maybe nerf it or not, but currently the change of armor and resistances, the fact that they are decreased, fine, that makes sense. Um, and also bear in mind, this is just a brief idea. I did not um, sort of spend too much simulating this, and personally, I don't know even if I would be able to simulate it in some way. Maybe I could create some tool. However, I did some basic calculations, and somehow this first thematically works for me, that you get a enrage after a crit, and second, I try to connect to enter this rage to immediately have some sort of a boost, not just like a, oh, you are crit and then you have a 50% chance to have additional attack. No, it just changed in a different way. All in all, I think that the current suggestion is quite bad. And FYI, the fact that we had it on the test server, like the beta, this does not mean that this will happen. In the past, we have had, like, in last 3 4 months, we have had three different tests. There was a droid change, a battle mage change, and a mage change. And out of these three, mage change is not live, for example, because it really sucked balls. It was really, really bad. And from this point of view, this means like the player does appreciate our feedback, and they would not implement something which really has a bad reviews from a majority of sort of players. So from this point of view, I also share my opinion on the Discord, and there was quite a significant discussion there. So my feedback is, do not implement this change. Think about keeping the mage um, rage possibility with a lower cap than against other classes, and second, reduce the cap against other classes from 10 to 5. Not because Berserker is too strong, just because the 10 cap does not make sense, as you almost never reach it. So from this point of view, I would just lower it. And that's more or less it for the testing of the Berserker class. In the future, if I would be testing other classes, I would also create videos so that you can check how it works, and I will share my opinion like I did just now. But until the next time, live long and keep on gaming.